Hi, I am Osman. I'm a telepathic energy healer on a master level, and I specialize in terminal illnesses and critical care recovery. I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher. Be sure to visit my website yogawellness786.com for more information on my services and contact information. And also remember that our therapies are all natural based therapies and not a replacement for medical treatment. If you have a medical condition, please be sure to visit or consult with a qualified and licensed medical practitioner in your locality. Today I want to discuss the subject of clairaudience from a yoga sciences perspective as well as from my own experience. Right? So I know a lot of you get the clairvoyant people and the clairaudience, and they can speak to certain entities, and these people are coming from, there are different schools of thought and also different dimensions from which these people operate clairaudience. And it's not that what I am dictating is the only way. And to give you some alternate ways, there's some people who has a teacher that grants them the gift of some spirit entity that is not visible to the naked eye of regular people, but gives you the capacity of clairvoyance and clairaudience that you can see, and these entities speak to them, or they hear the voice. Even if they can't see, they will hear the voice of that entity, and that entity will advise them on the information, and they will be able to recite the fantastic information to you. Because you get people who are like the gypsies and the so-called witches, and they visit you, and then as soon as they meet you, they say they give you your background, and they tell you things about your only things that only you know, and they start reciting all these things to you, magically, so to speak, and you are awestruck, right? So in that instance, it's not necessarily clairaudience, but the capacity of practice. You can practice this where you learn to read the thoughts of people. So the way to read the thoughts of people is you have to clear your mind, practice clearing your mind. Once you become practice in clearing your mind, and you focus on another person, or you meet with another person, your mind, and then you see thoughts coming in while you're focusing that person, you have to know that these are not your thoughts, because you have learned how to still your thoughts. Now you don't know what's your thoughts and what other people's thoughts, because your mind is jumping around. But once you practice controlling your thought, and you can bring it to a silent or a lower level, right? And then you hear this other frequency of, this is not something I'm thinking. They're able to catch, and they just look at you, and they'll be able to read you like a book. Right? You can look at someone and read that person just by focusing on that person. It comes like thoughts in your own mind, and you just start talking. You open yourself and you connect yourself that way, just mentally, right? Then from the other point of view on clairaudience, the one that I want to mention, right, specifically the reason why I created this particular video is in my experience of it. So once I attained higher levels of meditation practice, having attained, I think, Saamadhi a few times already, a few times, and of course I couldn't withstand it in my body, and I had to stop it because it was too much of power in my body. But I've come to, and then I started to meditate longer and longer periods, right? Not that you need to. I've now learned to teach my students, no need to spend more than 20-30 minutes a day, right? Or maximum, depending what you want to achieve in practice, right? But I used to spend that time because I didn't have a teacher like me, in my life. And I didn't want to teach people to go through what I went through, right? 16 to 18 hours of meditation per day, right? When I was meditating on that level, then something opened suddenly. I could hear voices of other entities that are in the surrounding. There are parallel universes And when these entities knew that I was able to hear them, they started to crowd me and they started to talk to me and crack jokes with me, and it started to become out of control, right? And I, of course, didn't mention that I'm hearing all this, and I didn't want this because this is a sign of insanity as well, or one of the symptoms of insanity, that you're hearing voices, right? So I knew that it is not an insanity, that due to, because I've studied yoga and meditation science, I knew and understood there are other frequencies and entities. And they spoke to me on things that are current, right? And what is there, or and I, my understanding is such that that I didn't feel that I was going insane, because there are certain practices in yoga. It's not possible that someone who's doing these type, especially with the advanced level pranayama, they're not going to go schizophrenic and go crazy, right? It's highly unlikely and almost impossible that someone who's practicing advanced level pranayama is having a psychosis, right? This is one of the things that, the main thing that you will not have is a psychosis, right? With advanced levels of pranayama practice, which I also teach to my students. So it came to a level where it was becoming, oh, and it's not like an eerie thing. The ones that the voices that were all happy-go-loving voices and jokes and cracking jokes, and I mean, some of them are really funny. I mean, if the stand-up comedians think they are funny, wait till you meet some of these higher frequency entities. They are much more funny. I mean, I burst out laughing in a silent room where people are all silent, and I couldn't hold it. I mean, the joke is funny, it's funny, and when people ask, I say, no, I just thought of something funny, and they all curiously want to know, and then I dismiss the subject matter. I mean, how I'm going to explain, because it involves alternative realities and other frequencies, and the joke is linked on that level, and it will require explanation, which I didn't want to go into, and it was becoming very disturbing to me, and I stopped it. I didn't know how to stop it. I just thought, oh, I want this to stop. The strong thought, and it stopped. Right? So that's how I learned how to, engage and stop these things. And till today, I don't want it started, right? Because I don't want to be hearing, and I also don't want to be seeing these other entities, right? Is it possible that I could see? Maybe if I unblock that thought that I don't want to see, because I don't want to see, right? Then maybe I'll be able to see, and I have seen, right? I have seen. And I don't want to, right? I want to see what other people see, and of course I'm now blind, right? Since 2023, I can't see the physical world. I'm completely blind, 100%. But although I'm completely blind, I always tell everyone I can see more than what you can see. A typical example is someone is stating a sentence. So the regular people, they are able to hear what I hear, but they're also seeing the person who's speaking it. And they're also seeing the environment around them. So much of information is coming and crowding them together with that one line. Me, I'm not seeing everything in the environment. I'm not seeing the person. I'm not seeing his expression. The only thing is that one line, the audible, message that I'm hearing. I'm only hearing that sentence, right? The audible message, right? So I'm able to focus that much deeper on every word, the tone of it, and the nuances of the tone in between, and the circumstances under which he's saying, and what it could mean, deeper meanings behind it. I think of so many factors, from one thing. And just listening, when you're talking to blind people, just be careful, because for sure they can read your mind, right? For sure. Because when you say it, they know what's in your mind, because it's going to come out in, as much as you may practice that intonation and the tone to sound, they're going to notice something amiss, and they're going to notice, and they're going to be able to analyze what exactly is amiss, right? So in that way, we're seeing more, right? We're seeing more, and people become so reliant on the visual, on the eyesight, that they neglect or the other senses become almost dormant, right? And they don't, because you become jack of all trades, master of none. When you lose one, you start becoming mastery of all the other senses, right? And that's how, I say always I can see more. Although the person has got eyesight and I'm blind, but I can see more than what they can see. The world that I am seeing is much richer than what they are seeing, right? I just cannot see color, right? And shape and light. These three things I cannot see, right? But the experience of life and what is behind these things, because bottom line, it is how it enhances your life, right? And the experience is much richer for me. And the other person is just, because it's information overload, it's not able to appreciate it, right? Like how a blind person would appreciate. So coming back to clairaudience and listening and hearing these things. So yes, there is these things of clairaudience. There's multiple ways, to get into it depending which teacher. There are a lot of psychic classes, online classes being taught by very competent teachers, right? And you can learn these skills and also learn, to utilize your mind better, to be able to read other people's mind, on a scientific level, right? Where people can even guess, what card you're going to pull out and what you're going to say a day before when they record. You see this in magic shows, how they created a video and they predicted what you're going to pick and what you're going to say. This is something, an art form that you learn, you train, and train your mind. All these things are available, to us, including, clairvoyance. Sometimes with clairvoyance, there can be a teacher who can impart that power to you directly and immediately. You don't have to follow yoga sciences for decades to be able to awaken it. You find the right teacher who can awaken that and open your third eye instantly. There are people who can do that. I am unable to awaken the third eye instantly on the level where you can see, physically the spirit world and so forth. Yes, I can activate, your intuition, your third eye energy center, and your intuition levels going to be more rounded, and it's going to grow incrementally in accordance with the level in which you are and ready for, right? It is a much safer way that I practice. And the other method that others, they throw you into the deep end, it's like going cold turkey into it, and suddenly you can't remove it, you can't stop it. Once it's open, it's not easy to close it. And you have to train how to, manage that level, of clairvoyance. So in clairvoyance, I will discuss that, in another video, hopefully. And these things that you delve into, it's not something I would say that's very dangerous. It's very interesting and exciting. And you can find a teacher, to help you to, awaken it and, enjoy, those maybe it's something that you want to enjoy, but you have to be wary and follow the warnings of the person who's expert in it. So I've closed it within a day or two, few days, I think, I allowed it. So I'm not an expert in that. I'm not the right person, to teach you clairaudience. But there are people who are doing it, for a lifetime and have got deep knowledge on the do's and don'ts and so forth of this, and they will be able to guide you better. So you can seek them out and get into that if that's your interest.